On today's Edge of Wonder, we go even deeper into part 2 of the chemtrail conspiracy. If part 1 didn't convince you of the nefarious reality of SAI or stratospheric aerosol injection, the evidence we give you today just might make you a believer. Is SAI really part of a larger, more diabolical plan instigated by the deep state? Are certain celebrities using their star power to help shed light on this conspiracy? And if so, what is it they want us to know? We'll examine who's actually behind chemtrails as we follow the money, billions in fact, and share with you what we find to be the most logical conclusion. We'll even check in with Chuck Norris, who wants to knock some sense into us about this phenomenon. All this and more on part 2 of Chemtrail Conspiracies.
I'm Chuck Norris, and I approve this message.
On the Edge of Wonder. Now here's your high-flying hosts, Ben and Rob, to bring this one in for a landing.
Welcome to Edge of Wonder. So in part 1, we covered what contrails and chemtrails were. In part 2, we're going to tell a lot of Chuck Norris jokes.
Just wait, at the end, we will for sure. But okay, in this part 2, let's dive into the bigger picture of things and who exactly funds the chemtrail efforts.
To recap part 1, the chemtrails are jet trails formed by jets spraying harmful chemicals into the air. The technique originates from Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb.
In 1991, the term chemtrail first made it to the cover of an Air Force Academy chemistry textbook. That same year, a patent for chemtrail technology was granted.
In the following years, researchers have confirmed that harmful chemical compounds sprayed into the atmosphere affect both people and plants.
For those of you who are skeptical, we encourage you to watch both parts of our chemtrail series. Do your own research and draw your own conclusions about what's going on. This wasn't a simple topic to cover since it spanned many categories and affects so many parts of our lives.
Many chemtrail skeptics claim that chemtrails are mere contrails, or at least believe that the intent behind chemtrails were originally benign, such like putting snow on ski slopes. But what ended up happening is, inadvertently, it hurt people, the very people it tried to help.
Pro-climate engineering scientists make cases for putting metals in the sky reflect sun back up to itself. But the side effect is that it also creates a blanket that traps heat.
Some speculate that large corporations intentionally affect the weather in order to influence and give them better positions in commodities trading, especially since weather control is now known to be possible and 80% of the economy is impacted by weather.
Yeah, weather modification has been possible for decades. Operation Popeye was a cloud seeding operation that took place during the Vietnam War. They seeded clouds to extend monsoon season to support war efforts.
It was allegedly sponsored by Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and the CIA without the authorization of then Secretary of Defense Melvin Laird.
Yeah, we've definitely noticed a trend here. A lot of harmful, suspicious activity tied back to Kissinger.
For those who want a deep rabbit hole to dig into, look into Kissinger. But we digress. Regardless of whether you believe chemtrails are real or not, these jets are spraying something into the stratosphere.
And at the end of the day, it's still dangerous to us and the environment. Are chemtrails a part of a larger plan? While chemtrails aren't explicitly connected to anything except conspiracy theories, when you try to search for it online, certain individuals and organizations with ties to the deep state or darker alternative motives have been promoting geoengineering efforts, which includes chemtrails under the guise of stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI.
Many research papers describe techniques like stratospheric aerosol injection, which is very similar to chemtrails in execution. What is SAI?
SAI is a specific technique in solar radiation management, SRM, or solar geoengineering, that involves spraying or lofting sulfates into the skies at high altitudes via jets to reflect solar radiation.
You might hear us use SRM and solar geoengineering interchangeably, but they're mostly the same thing. The recent IOP environmental research letters published on November 2018 describe the feasibility and costs and execution of various alternatives, beginning at $2.25 billion per year.
Well, what's the big deal for being sprayed, right? I mean, at best it won't harm us directly. At worst, we'll just get sick.
In 2016, CIA Director John Brennan advocated for stratospheric aerosol injection at the Council of Foreign Relations. And by the way, in our Silent War on American People episode, we talk about how Brennan and the CIA were the ones hiding Osama bin Laden.
So of course, he must be looking after the well-being of the American people. I mean, right? Well, before we dive further, we wanted to point out that in our research, the Council of Foreign Relations has popped up as an organization with ties to the deep state and to the 13 bloodlines.
And if you're not familiar with the deep state or the 13 bloodlines already, we highly recommend you check those videos out.
So Brennan said that SAI could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels.
He also claims that a fully deployed SAI program would be quite inexpensive, quoting an annual estimated cost of $10 billion from the National Research Council. So now we know the cost of SAI falls within the range of $2.25 billion and $10 billion.
Brennan, like many proponents of geoengineering, also caveat SAI as a partial solution, making SAI and thus chemtrails acceptable through legal political means.
According to a 2009 AP interview with John Holdren, the chief scientific advisor to Barack Obama said his personal opinion is to, quote, keep geoengineering on the table. He claims we might be desperate enough to use it.
In John Holdren's book called Ecoscience, Population, Resources, Environment, he states that overpopulation is an issue and the optimum population is around 1 billion. I mean, let the implications of that sink in for a second.
And that goes perfectly with what we have been saying is the deep state's ultimate goal: depopulation of the world. The issue of overpopulation, which isn't actually an issue at all, since many countries like Japan, Bulgaria, Latvia, Moldova, Ukraine, Croatia, and many more in Eastern Europe will see population decline of 15 to 23% by 2050.
Holdren also wrote that chemicals could be put in our food and water. And it looks like his ideas may already be in motion since chemtrails have been doing just that.
Other direct solutions for overpopulation are compulsory population control laws, obligatory vasectomy, no thanks, limited birth licenses, subcutaneous implants, and infanticide.
Wow. I mean, that reminds me of an ad that I saw the other day for birth control implants. I mean, I won't mention the company, but they had an ad that tried to normalize birth control arm implants. These people who this ad is for most likely aren't even aware of the larger plan to control population.
I mean, it's kind of scary that they can advertise this stuff and get people to be receptive to it.
Yeah, for real. And finally, Holdren proposes the idea of the planetary regime, or one world government that would determine the optimum population for the world and control the global commons, which is the air, soil, and ocean. I mean, who are these people to say this, really? It's like they're going against the divine.
I don't mean to be laughing, everyone. It's just so ridiculous. And Ben, you already know this is why we're doing what we're doing. So chemtrails, as a part of the geoengineering, is a method that the deep state uses to control the weather, the food supply, and in turn, the population, all in plain sight for us.
Yeah, I think when we just hear like the most ridiculous things, we just can't help but to laugh by just like how insane this stuff is. Like these people are like, how can they get away with this?
It's weird.
Anyway, okay, Holdren, the guy who pushed for keeping geoengineering on the table, not only endorses population control, but even wrote a book elaborating on specific population control techniques.
But this gets even more crazy. Many research organizations have been propagating geoengineering despite its controversial techniques and implications.
The Royal Society in the United Kingdom, the US National Academies of Science, Engineering and Medicine, and the House of Representatives Science Committee have all written about the effectiveness and affordability of government-funded geoengineering research.
The Harvard Project on Climate Agreement specifically suggests ways that solar radiation management, or SRM, or solar geoengineering might enter mainstream policy discussions under the Paris Framework through the 2018 IPCC Special Report.
So what the Harvard Project on Climate Agreement means is that if solar geoengineering doesn't get discussed in the Paris Agreements, it can resurface through the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, which is a part of the United Nations. I mean, do you guys see where this is going here?
At the U.S. House Science Committee climate hearing, Douglas McMartin, an expert witness at the hearing and co-author on 5 geoengineering papers published in the Journal of Geophysical Research Atmospheres, brought up the well-known side effect of stratospheric aerosol injection, a reduction in precipitation.
This confirms that if stratospheric aerosol injection is executed, it can be used to manipulate the weather and in turn our own food production.
So what the deep state is trying to do is get researchers and policymakers behind the idea of chemtrails by appealing to people's innate desires to save the environment and twist it so that they can execute their ultimate goal, population control.
This stuff might be kind of hard to believe sometimes, but we would encourage you guys to do some research into these chemtrails and how it is related to the bigger picture for yourselves.
Yeah, don't just listen to us. It's all out there. But that's exactly how they get away with it. Yeah. When people simply cast it aside, call it a conspiracy, or don't take it seriously, or when Snopes and Wikipedia says it isn't true. Think, people.
We have taken you to the edge. Please watch your step.
Now, the billion-dollar question: where is the deep state getting the funds to do all of this?
On the American front, in the 2014 Climate Change Expenditures Report, the proposed budget for U.S. Global Change Research Program, or USGCRP, is $2.6 billion, and the budget for the clean energy technologies reached a sizable $7.9 billion.
So 13 departments and agencies are involved in climate research.
13, Ben?
I thought that was kind of interesting myself. So here they are. NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NASA, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Energy, and the Department of Interior's lead science agency, the U.S. Geological Survey.
I almost fell asleep while you were saying all that. On the global front, another organization that's involved with funding geoengineering and potentially chemtrail efforts is the Green Climate Fund. Sounds nice. The Green Climate Fund is a fund established within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, because we love to hit you with those acronyms, to finance the operations of the Paris Climate Agreement.
Yep, so under Obama, the US had originally pledged $3 billion to Green Climate Fund, $1 billion of which has already been paid as of May 2018. But in a nutshell, the greatest insult is that our own tax dollars are going to this dark agenda, which is being used directly to attack us.
Feel sick yet? I do.
You could take that literally and figuratively, I guess.
But let's look at some famous people who are actually speaking out against chemtrails. No matter how you feel about the Kardashians. Kylie Jenner posted this on her Twitter account. It does have some spelling errors, but she is asking questions such as who is paying for this, and why the honeybees are all dying off, and what about our children's future.
Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, who loves to talk all things related about the Illuminati and these conspiracies, said that in a recent video posted on YouTube during one of the recent shows, this.
You got a lot of chemtrails over here. Big sky, big chemtrail. Does anyone know what a chemtrail is? Will you turn to the person to your left and explain what a chemtrail is?
He also has now deleted tweets talking about chemtrails, fluoride, and criticizing global warming and climate change as being a scam.
The artist Prince was a very outspoken critic of chemtrails. During a performance in 2003, Prince sang this in his song Dreamer. While the helicopter circles and the theories getting deep, think they're spraying chemicals over the city while we sleep. From now on, I'm staying awake, so you can call me a dreamer too. Wake up, wake up.
For those of you who think his death could just been a regular overdose, listen to this and what he said in 1998, 3 years before 9/11. Prince sang this in the Netherlands. I got to go back to America. I got to get ready for the bomb. Osama bin Laden, get ready to bomb. America, you better watch out. 2001, hit me.
What?
This is in 1998 that he said this.
That is outrageous, man. Why would Prince know this crap?
There's even a recording of it. We'll add it in the description below.
He did talk about the Illuminati a lot, so it makes sense that this is why he might have been killed. It was also known that he was into David Icke too. Well, Ben, you want to know another person who's really outspoken about chemtrails?
Who's that, Rob?
The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Chuck Norris.
Oh, yeah, those Chuck Norris jokes are awesome. Actually, I should call them facts, right? Actually, I love trolling the trolls with
Chuck
those
Norris
jokes.
facts.
Okay, say, Rob, do you know the difference between Superman and Chuck Norris?
No.
Well, okay, Superman has a weakness, Chuck Norris doesn't.
Of course. Oh, man. Also, I heard he uses pepper spray on his steaks instead of hot sauce. But okay, let's get back to why we're bringing him up. Chuck Norris is also a big fan of these conspiracies and has spoken out against geoengineering and even wrote an article about it on WND.
What is awesome is that he even called out the Snopes website, saying that they omitted part of a quote from the National Center of Biotechnology information that concluded aerosol immunization seems a promising method for vaccination.
He also states in the article, if you don't believe there's some smoke screening in the sky trails above you, I have a London Bridge to sell you in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Man, Chuck Norris sounds awesome. We should totally try to get him on the show.
Dude, that would be awesome. And then we can have him share his own Chuck Norris facts with us. But, okay, he also has been on many talk shows and radio shows talking about chemtrails. But another person who is against chemtrails is Dave Mustaine, the singer from the rock band Megadeth.
Fascinating. In a few tweets from 2013, Dave said, quote, shame on the pilots for spraying the grid lines in the once beautiful skies of San Diego. Shame, shame, shame.
In another tweet, Dave said, it's aluminum oxides and barium salts. They know what their cargo is. Only a fool or accomplice would argue the unarguable.
Another person who posted a photo of himself with chemtrails is Vin Diesel, who marked an X with his hands under chemtrails, although he didn't say anything directly about it.
Roseanne Barr was on Alex Jones a few years back talking about chemtrails and how they are poisoning our food. She also said the only way we'll beat this is that we must set aside our differences no matter what your views are and find a way to come together to find a solution.
Besides Chuck Norris being a total badass, what we did uncover today, as usual, the deep state is up to no good. They're trying to pass off chemtrails to the public as SAI, stratospheric aerosol injection, the so-called solution for climate change.
The deep state, under the Obama administration, have promoted SAI in order to push their end goal: population control, or eugenics.
Under Trump, the US has withdrawn from the Paris climate agreements and said that we won't be paying another penny more.
There is a silver lining to all of this.
Yeah, I mean, with Chuck Norris going to bat against chemtrails, everybody's in good shape. Aside from that, though.
That's awesome. Trump's administration has received backlash for withdrawing, but what's really encouraging to hear is that many Americans have noticed, especially Californians, that the skies have become consistently clear after Trump pulled America out of the Paris climate agreements.
So there are clearer skies ahead, apparently, and people are becoming more aware of the truth.
If you've learned something new in our video or liked this episode, please give us a thumb up, guys, and tell us what you've noticed in the skies in the comments below.
And we'll keep on delving more into the truth, so y'all make sure you hit the like and subscribe button along with the notification bell so you won't miss our next video.
And until then, we'll see you out
on the edge of Chuck Norris.
Yes! Did you hear why they didn't hire Chuck Norris in the new Avengers movie?
No, why?
Well, because the movie would be over in like 2 seconds. It'd be the shortest movie ever.
Chuck Norris kicked so hard his foot traveled back in time and killed Hitler.
Dude, I heard Chuck Norris's beard is so awesome that once a man tried to punch him, it was like punching knives.
Punching knives?
Yeah, it punched his beard in knives. Chuck Norris uses a real apple as a smartphone.
That's so dumb.